Yes.
Is there?
Ready? Okay. Welcome to another edition of the Power is Within podcast. We got a full house tonight and my special guest that we'll introduce here in just a moment. We're going to talk to him and ask him how he got into the dating and helping men out and helping them become more masculine and how to deal with women and actually with life's problems. So I'll bring on my guest here in just a minute. And we have Henry here, Braden, Paulina.
Hi.
The end of the table.
What's going on? It's my Mark.
Mark,
Claude.
Claude, and myself. All right. Let me see. All right, I'm gonna come on over, Trey.
Special guest.
Glad you can make it, Trey. This is Trey Morgan of the Masculine Throne. He was nice enough to grace us with his presence tonight, and I appreciate him coming. So, have a seat, Trey. Great to be here. With you. Just put the.
All right.
Are you good? Can you hear?
Yeah, man. Feeling good. I can hear you.
Want to stay close to the mic when you speak, because sometimes
right.
it doesn't pick it up. All right, well, Trey, I'm glad you could come here tonight. You flew all the way in from Orlando, Florida to be our guest, so we'll give him a round of applause for that.
Appreciate your company, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Trey, I've listened to some of your stuff, and I really like it because you talk about masculinity, and you don't just talk about techniques to get women, but actually what I take that you do is you actually teach young men or older men how to become the man that all women want to be with. A man that's attractive from within, not just because he has certain techniques he can pick up a girl and get laid, as they say, but just to be more of a man. Because in the end, if you are not that man, if you have whatever techniques you have, it really isn't going to help you, because once she meets you and you might get with her one time, she's going to find out what's really inside.
Yeah.
So as I said, that's what I like about your content. You actually teach men how to become a man. And I think there's a lacking of masculinity in the United States right now. I don't know what the reason for that is, but anyway, how did you get started doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So my background is with internet marketing. So I used to build websites and stuff like that. And that was me kind of ignoring my dating life because I was very awkward and shy, not just with girls, but just in general. So I used the internet, like going towards the internet, building websites to kind of ignore that. But there was, and I had success with it, but there was a hole. There was a hole because I was ignoring, that I wanted to be able to socialize and connect with people, but more so women, because obviously we naturally want to connect with the opposite sex, right? So it just didn't come to me naturally. And so I found out about cold approach. So watching YouTube videos, you had these guys that would go out and approach women like during the day, and they do like funny stuff or whatever, but they'd actually get the women. And some of them weren't that good looking or whatever. And I was like, come on, I'm a big black man with muscles and stuff. Like, I should be able to go out there and get some girls. So I went out and tried it. And man, they made it look a lot easier on the videos. It wasn't as easy as I thought. But basically, I wanted to handle this part of my life. I really wanted to handle this part of my life. So I kept going out, approaching women, working on my social skills. And over time, I started to develop confidence. And what I noticed was actually I started to embrace my masculinity. That's what was happening. And that natural masculine expression started coming out. That's when women started responding to me better. I started, connecting with men more as well. Just my social life improved. But what I really wanted was to start meeting women. And so just so you understand, I left high school without ever kissing a girl, without ever having a girlfriend, and I was still a virgin, right? And it wasn't until I hit 24 years old, that's when I got my first kiss, lost my virginity, and got my first girlfriend.
Wow.
So it's like you would think on the outside, because I always had this kind of look, like this exterior, like tall black guy, muscles and stuff. Because I played basketball, doing all the things you would think would get you girls easily,
Yeah.
but on the inside, I
Yeah,
wasn't.
the jocks always seem to just attract them.
Yeah, but on the inside, I was broken. I was insecure. I was actually, I was using the exterior like I would play that role, but on the inside, I was like a scared little boy.
And people pick up on that. It's like what you are speaks so loudly I can't hear what you're saying or how you're acting.
Yeah. So going through that process of approaching women and I was approaching men, approaching people, just going out, expressing myself, it helped me to unlock my masculinity. And so that's what I speak more about. Not everyone needs to go out and approach women relentlessly, but they need to find a way to unlock their masculine expression. And they will attract women. They'll attract not just women, but quality relationships. And they'll be able to do a lot of great things. But it's all within. It's all inside. We just got to unlock it.
Exactly. I agree. And that's not, from what I hear, is not unusual for a man to be a virgin now until 24. A lot of men are 20, 21, 22, and they haven't been with a woman yet. That's a common thing I've heard compared to when I was a kid. I lost my virginity at 13 with a couple of my buddies and a local easy girl in a ditch.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue. So you started. When did you start helping? When did you decide to actually start putting content out there to help other people?
Yeah, so since I had the internet marketing background, I knew how to set it up, and over time, for me overcoming my challenges in my dating life with socializing, I developed a passion for it. So I decided to build a business around it. I was like, okay, if I can really help other men go from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, and give them real advice from me going out and really experiencing stuff, not just reading a book or whatever. I knew it would be valuable, so I just decided to go into the men's dating niche. And I started out as a dating coach, but it evolved into me more so being more of like a masculinity coach, if that makes sense. Like just focusing on the masculine aspect of things. How can you unlock that? Because a lot of the term is emasculated. A lot of men have they feel they've been shamed for being masculine. Oh, you're too aggressive. Oh, you're too this.
Yeah. Why do you think that some of the men are emasculated? You say they're being shamed by who and how and what ways? Do you see that happening or hear about it happening, whichever?
Well, what's going on in society? You got the feminist stuff. You got the LGBT. You got that going on. Deeper than that, I would say I look at past trauma, like, for example, not having a healthy masculine male role model. I didn't have that. Well, I did, but I lost my father at a young age. I lost my father at 11. He was masculine. He was actually overly masculine. But I lost him at an early age, so I didn't really get to appreciate him and understand masculinity. I didn't understand. I was too young to understand why he was the way he was. But yeah, so if you don't have that example in your life, then you don't know how to go from being a boy into becoming a man in a healthy way. So it may come out in weird ways. You may be overly aggressive, or maybe just very angry or pissed off at the world, or whatever it is. It comes out in a weird way. And so people want to call it toxic masculinity or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I don't like that term too much. But if it wasn't for toxic masculinity, we probably wouldn't live in this country, because we would have been overrun by, maybe we'd be speaking German today. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I forgot what I was saying. But.
Okay, well, now when did you start helping other people? You said you had the background in website, and what inspired you to start, putting out or sharing it? Was it after you said you went out there and tried yourself? You were just trying to pick up girls at first, and then you kind of got into maybe thinking about masculinity or realizing that really it was what was inside of you, and so you developed your own masculinity, and then you wanted to share that with other people. Tell me what you were thinking in that transition when you went from just trying to pick up girls and starting, well, this is more about what you are inside, and then you started to think about giving that to other people. Could you share on that a little bit?
Well, there's a lot of misleading information. Like when I was going out and approaching women, I got to see what actually worked for real. The pickup lines, I mean, you know, you could have two people can go to a girl and say the same thing and get two completely different reactions. They could say the same pickup line. So it's not the pickup line, it's how it's being said. You know, it's how it's coming across. It's the subtleties, the subcommunication. Like women are not stupid. Like
They're very intuitive, much more than men usually.
Yeah, they can feel your energy.
Yeah.
They can they see the little subtleties and stuff like that. So you can't BS them. You know what I mean? You gotta show up with real character. That's what I realized, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want to have to like, because they do teach like ways to manipulate all that stuff. I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to be myself, but you know, I don't really like to be myself. Be my best self.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, my best self, the best version of myself. I wanted to bring that to the interaction. So you gotta, as a man, you gotta work on yourself. You got to fall in love with yourself. You gotta you gotta fall in love with yourself. You gotta fall in love with your life. And then when you approach a woman with that energy, she can feel that like, whoa, who's this guy? Why is he so confident? Why is he, you know, compared to most guys who are like going to her trying to get something from her,
trying to get her approval. Yeah, just doesn't work. Neediness, that can pick up neediness like a cat smells a can of tuna when you open it up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just realized the truth just by going out there, putting myself, being vulnerable too. I was very vulnerable. I wasn't trying to hide behind the pickup lines. I would go up and get rejected, and instead of blaming the girl, I would say, "Oh, what can I do to stop getting rejected or get less?" Because you're gonna get rejected,
right?
But less rejection.
Part of life.
Yeah, less rejection, or just how can I connect with? Because you even have some girls who are into you, and then you find a way to self-sabotage it. So even stuff like that, like figuring out why am I sabotaging myself?
I've done that before.
Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah. So it's like, it's something going on the inside. It might be some past trauma you need to deal with. It might be you not taking responsibility for certain things. So yeah, I just got to the core of it. Because when I went into it, I knew I focused on confidence. I wanted to be confident. Right. And then over time, as I matured, I realized what I really wanted was to be able to express my masculinity.
A lot of people think that, and I've seen people write this, they actually believe, and if they believe it, I guess it's true for them, but that if you're not good looking and you don't have the square jaw and all this, you just don't have a chance with women. But you mentioned earlier, and I've seen it before too, a guy that is definitely challenged in the looks department, and he picks up a beautiful girl, or he's been going out with a beautiful girl. So I strongly disagree. I say the looks will get your foot in the door, and after that, it's who you are. You better have something inside, because if you don't, like you said, they're intuitive. She'll be gone down the road for somebody else, which you probably experienced when you walked up to a lot of girls. You hadn't developed your masculinity yet, and thus you just didn't go anywhere. Yeah. But because you look within yourself instead of blaming women, which is what a lot of men do, they want to blame the woman. You know, if you don't take the word blame out of your vocabulary, you never accomplish anything, because you can only change yourself. You can't change anybody else out there. Yeah. To speak on the part about like the looks thing. So yeah, I was a jock or whatever, and it didn't do too much for me. It got interest, like it will get the girl's attention, but then once she sees that you're not really what she thought you were, she's gone. But another thing I got to experience was, I remember, this is a story, I went out to because I'm from Orlando, Florida, so we have this thing called Disney Springs. Disney Springs, so it's kind of like, it's not Disney World, but it's like it's like they have like shops, like malls and different things, and they have a movie theater. So anyway, I was out there vibing with some of my friends, and one of my friends, he's short, he's balding, he's just not, he's not the what you would say, oh, that's the sexy guy or whatever, right? So he's with me, but he was confident. He worked on his social skills, his masculinity. He worked on that, and he was into it before I got into it. I was actually learning from him. But yeah, so I have everything over him. Like
better looking, taller, better physique, all of that.
Right.
And I remember some girls walked up to us, like approached us, or sorry, they approached me. They approached me, and they're like, "Hey, we just want to come and say hi," or something like that, right? And I was like, "Oh, hey," and I
Definitely know they're interested if they walk up to you.
yeah. So that was interesting. But basically, at that time, I still didn't reclaim, ignite, and ground my masculinity. That wasn't there yet. I was still insecure. All of that. But I was trying to work on myself. So anyway, she walks up and I got her attention with my exterior.
Right.
But right away she saw like, probably my eyes went down in my head. Like I wasn't confident. So
right
away their attention went to my friend, and he like just took over the whole situation. Like he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he was doing this thing. And I was just kind of standing there just like watching because I didn't know what to do, right?
Yeah, it's amazing to watch somebody in action like that. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so essentially, he basically like took over the interaction and was leading and like, "Yeah, let's go over
He was
there."
Controlling the frame.
Yes. And he was like, "Yeah, let's go over there." And the girls are following, yeah. And they forgot all about me. I was just like tagging.
What a bummer. Huh?
Yeah.
What a good learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they forgot all about me. He was leading the situation, and basically, to make a long story short, like he almost ended up, pulling her. I don't know if y'all know that term, but like,
yeah, for sure.
They do more than me, but yeah, I think I get it.
Yeah. So he almost ended up pulling her, and I got to see how the looks thing, it gets their attention, but it's not gonna keep their attention.
Right. But see, the difference between you and a lot of men is you didn't stand there and say, them dang women, see how they are, they're stuck up, they're this. That doesn't get you anywhere. Like you say, you have to look within yourself because you can't change them. You can only change what's inside of you. And when you change what's inside of you, then people can feel that, and they can, like you say, the looks get you in the door, but that's about, they get your foot. And like I said, your looks brought the girls to you, but you didn't know what to do, so you couldn't go anywhere with it. So a lot, like I said, the people who think looks is all you need, look at these big bodybuilders and the way they are, and a lot of them can't get girls, even some of the famous athletes, because they just freak out when they start talking to a girl. They can get out there and plow somebody on the football field, but then they talk to a girl and it's like they act like they're a 100-pound weakling or something.
Mm-hmm.
So would you guys have anything you'd like to ask Trey here? Open it up for some questions.
Well, before I ask a question, I would say, like, yeah, you guys are right. Like, obviously looks are always going to get you in the door. And obviously if you're tall, like, you're really automatically in it like that. But I mean, I've like, from personal experience, I'm not really the tallest person. I'm also not the shortest though. But still, I think I would much rather not have those initial looks, because like you said, what's the point if you can't really, if you sit there, they'll approach you, try to talk to you and everything, you're just sitting there kind of shaking. You're like, oh, wow, I have no idea what to do. So, you can have it all, but if you don't have no game, you really can't play at all, But I mean, when was like, I guess, what was the first big... So you said obviously that you were unconfident with yourself, like within, you were scared. What was the first realization of that? What was the first thing that made you realize, as I'm not as confident as I think I am, or I'm not confident at all? What was your first realization of that little, I guess, thing going on in your head?
Mm-hmm. Middle school.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can tell you a story about middle school. You laugh at it. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, middle school, bro. Basically, I'm thinking, okay, because you watch TV and you watch movies and they make it seem like, okay, it is the looks thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then I was in school and I was shy and I was very introverted. And this is from past trauma and stuff. But yeah, like just because I had the looks, like it wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough. Like, okay, you can be tall, you can play basketball and all these things, and girls will be interested, like, initially, but once they see that your character is not there, there's no strength of character, because they want to feel that masculine energy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what creates the attraction. So if it's not there, it's just gonna dry up. So yeah, that was happening. I didn't know, now I can speak on it. I know what was going on there, but when you're in middle school, you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Like, why is it not working? Why am I not getting the girl? That kind of thing. So it was a sad situation, but fortunately, I didn't give up on myself. Like I tried to figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to do that, like after one or two, I guess, kind of failures. Even in middle school, you're young. You're always told. I wish I could have listened to like my elders when they were telling me, "Hey, the problems you got right now in middle school are gonna be nothing in the next few years."
But they seem big.
Oh, they seem like
big.
it's the biggest thing ever. But then obviously you get older and you realize, wow, okay,
bigger problems.
Right? You almost wish you had the middle school problems again.
Exactly. We talk about that all the time.
Let me tell you about I'll make a quick middle school experience. It was before I had my experience with the girl and the other guys in the ditch there when I was scared to death. But before that, there was a good-looking girl in middle school, and I was just in love with her, and she was one of the popular ones. And I knew so little about women. What I did was on her birthday, I bought her a bracelet, put it in her locker. I don't think I ever even told her that what did I think I was going to accomplish? But like you said, no, I didn't know anything. Nobody ever taught me anything about it. I was probably 12. I think I was in 7th grade. Yeah, because I was young in my class, and it was like, I don't know if she ever knew who put it in there.
Right.
I never told her. And I don't know how I thought I was going to, but I didn't know. If you don't know, you don't know. So,
well, nowadays, you run into the problem where, like, you get people like, for example, like us trying to teach, for example, our friends or even older people that we happen to run into, we try to teach them or get them informed on, hey, this can happen, or you can do things this way. And then either there'll be once in a while, be one out of two reactions. It'll either be, oh no, man, like that's not how you treat people. This isn't that. And it's not necessarily about treating people. It's just knowing your self-worth, having confidence in yourself. Or you'll get the other one where like, oh, I don't know, man, it might work for you, but it would never work for me, So like you said, you see that a lot, and you got to try to, bring up an example once in a while, like, oh, what about, for example, Joe down the street, he's fat, and you see his girlfriend, she's this Puerto Rican model, 6 foot tall, and people are like, oh yeah, I don't know, he just got lucky. Well, people call that just getting lucky instead of sitting back and realizing that, oh, he put in the work that he needed to do to, acquire such a woman and have such a relationship like the relationship that he has. But nowadays, people are just, I guess, not willing to put in that work.
well, if you say it's luck, then they don't have to try to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
themselves. Tell me, Trey, who is the most influential person in your life? I'll throw that out of left field at you there.
Yeah.
Most influential. Well, someone who's physically in my life that I get to interact with in person.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean now, but during your life, somebody that's made a difference or made an impact on your life.
Well, the most influential I would say is I only met him one time. I went to a boot camp, and this was recent. This was right like in the beginning of the pandemic. So like February of last year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a boot camp, and his name is Arash Dibazar, and basically he's a Persian guy. He has a bunch of tattoos, and basically he's one of the first people who I listened to who I really resonated with, because he talks a lot about masculinity, and he talks a lot about social dynamics and being a great communicator, but he looks badass. Like he looks like a masculine man.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look corny, but he can articulate himself. He's intelligent. I think that's cool when somebody can. It's kind of like y'all ever seen Dark Knight, the last one with Bane. Mm-hmm. Like he's big, he's brutal, but he can articulate. He's intelligent.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. So Arash Dibazar was the first person I saw who had that dynamic. And he just knows what he's talking about. Like he talks about male and female dynamics. He talks about being confident. He talks about and he shows proof too. Like he shows you the type of women he's getting and the results he's getting. He talks about also being on your purpose and getting to the money. So he covers everything. And I study like his stuff a lot. So if I had to say most influential, he was the first person that popped in my head. I only met him one time in person, but I watched his content. So.
Right. I think a lot of people think if they just get that right girl, their life's going to be great, or their life's going to fall into place. But really, what people need or men need to do is they need to get right first, and then they'll meet the right person. It's like you said, if they're not right inside, it just doesn't. it just doesn't work.
It's like the same concept as like, that along with that is the same concept of, you gotta respect yourself before expecting respect. You gotta love yourself before expecting love, all that kind of stuff. So really, for example, I personally, like, whenever I'm talking to my friends or someone who seems to need a little bit of help, maybe reaching that masculine side of themselves, I suggest, hey, go watch my dad's podcast or go read my dad's book. What's one thing that you would suggest maybe that helped you, or maybe that you suggested to somebody that helped them? What's one thing, maybe a book, maybe a YouTube channel, maybe a series or something? What's one thing that you would suggest to someone who's kind of having trouble getting in touch with that masculine side?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go at first thing that came in my head. It's not a book. I would suggest to them to go out and approach women, go and talk to women. Anywhere, the grocery store.
So many guys are afraid to approach the 50-year-old clerk woman behind the counter. But they got to start somewhere. That's what I tell them. Start somewhere.
Yeah, because it's gonna give you real feedback. You know what I mean? And the thing is, you could put your ego aside. Like I talk about my story, like when it came to going out and approaching women. When I just started, I would go to the mall and like I was so afraid that I would walk around for 3 hours, talk to nobody. And then what happened is I put my ego aside. I said, you know what, man? I'm over here trying to talk to like these fine girls. Can I even walk up to a stranger and say hello? Like in general?
Exactly.
Right.
Good place to start.
Yeah. So I started with old ladies, man. I started with old ladies.
That's what I tell people. Just go to the market and go up and talk to the old woman at the fruit stand or something. Just say, hey, how you doing? Or people will talk because it's easier. And then once you get that in, you can start talking. Yeah, but a lot of guys want to wait until they meet that beautiful girl, and they have no experience talking. They go up and they freeze, or they don't approach her because they're afraid. And I know the regret of not you let the fear stop you is much greater than if you go up and she rejects you. I mean, the pain or the disappointment is much worse if you don't take action than if you do, and at least you showed up as a man. Paulina, what do you think about all this? This is our lady in the presence here. She's taking it all in. Oh, come on. You always got something to say.
I don't know. I know Frank. I don't know. Okay. Frank walked up to somebody the other night. I thought it was pretty cool. He walked up to somebody, a girl, and he just straight up asked her for a Snapchat. And it was funny because she's older than him, and he still did it. And he literally had no clue who this girl was or anything. And he went up to her and, like, he convinced her. He was just sitting there, and he was, like, talking to her. And she finally was like, okay, like, I'm going to give him my Snapchat. Because, like, it was the way he was using his words. Like, I would like somebody to come up to me and talk to me like that and not just be like, hey, can I?
You don't have to if you want. You don't
have to if you don't want to.
Would you like to see me sometime?
Frank wasn't really, like, pushing it or anything. He wasn't like, come on, give it to me. Like, come on. He was more like,
persuading.
Yeah, he was persuading her to give it to him.
Here's what happened.
Now let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Detail. So last night, we went to the movie theater and everything, and we got our tickets, and we went back to the table, and I just told my sister and my friend Hunter, I was like, she's pretty cute, and he's like, Hunter's like, okay, well, I bet you can't go get her snap. So I walked over there, and I was like, hey, how's your night going? She's like, pretty good. She's like, not a lot of people have that much confidence to just walk up to me and talk to me. And I was like, well, I like being confident. And then I was like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? And she's like, oh, I'm 19. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I start walking away. And then she's like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I'm 16. I'll be 17 here pretty soon. And she's like, oh, you're a whole kid. And I'm like, oh, what makes you think that? And she's like, well, you're only 16. I'm like 3 years old, and I already finished high school. I finished. She went to college. I ended up dropping out of college because that wasn't her thing, I guess. And I was like, she's like, yeah, you're a whole kid. And I was like, oh, well, you see that on the outside, but that's not really what I am on the inside.
Yeah, right.
And then, I start walking away again. She's like, so what'd you need to ask me? I was like, oh, I could ask you for your snap or something. She's like, well, I don't know, you're young. She's like, you got a while till you turn 18. And I'm like, I was like, I ain't got no much time to waste. And I was like, you only live once, right? And she's like, hey, you're right. And I was like, all right, well, I was like, well, have a nice rest of your night. She's like, all right, fine, you can have my snack. And she gave me it, and she's like,
See, you were willing to walk away. That's the
Yeah,
strongest negotiating point is being able to walk
away,
being willing to walk
yeah.
away.
yeah, and she's like, well, just don't text me until you're 18. So, you know, I added her on Snap, and she's like, I thought you were going to wait till I was 18, or till you were 18. I was like, you really think I'm going to waste my time and wait that long? And she's like, true. And then, you know,
Yeah, right,
I ended
right.
up, you know, I haven't answered her in like been like 17 hours. I haven't texted her back
Right.
or anything.
Well, Frank,
Just left her.
we're good on the sound, aren't we? You checked.
Yeah, I checked it
People
before.
people can hear us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things about that I've noticed is, you know, like he walked away with a whole lot more there than he would have if he would have just stood on the sidelines and like, wow, you know, she's really pretty, like, you know, maybe, and who knows, maybe he would have even watched someone else approach her and, you know, actually bagged her or something, you know. But for the most part, you know, there comes experiences like that. Like us three, we had an experience like that. We were at Lake of the Ozark last time we were there, and, you know,
Yep.
right at the hotel parking lot where we're at. 3 bad little females sitting in the car, just perfectly lined up, the same way that we were sitting in
Smiling
the
at
car,
us and
smiling and
everything,
everything. And we were like, let's go around the corner and do something real quick. I was like, they'll be there when we come back. We came back, I was like, oh man, come on, you know.
But
what
we
I'm
waited
saying?
too long. We hesitated.
Yeah, we
That's-
hesitated, and that
But
was
that's the thing. That's when I had a main problem with that. I remember we were at the fair that one
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
And those girls kept walking around. I was like, next time they come over, I'm gonna ask them
Yep.
for it. And then you went to the bathroom. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go ahead and go. And we followed them up to. It was a little derby thing.
Yeah, it was by some benches and stuff.
And I walked up to them and asked them. I was like, "Hey, you guys got a Snapchat and everything like that?" And they're like, "Oh, we have a boyfriend. We have boyfriends and all this." And I could tell one of them kind of, you know, was liking me or whatever. But I backed out because, you know, I was kind of afraid of just being like, "Oh yeah, you know, I know you got a boyfriend. But what's your Snapchat?"
Right, and even then,
But
you
you-
know, you noticed they were still sitting back, like looking back, you know, seeing if you were behind them and everything, making sure you were still around.
But
or
at the
something.
same time too, I felt 1,000 times better going out of my way, you know, like to just talk to them or, you know, because otherwise I would have been thinking of what could have happened. you know,
Right.
if I would have asked them what could have
Right.
happened.
The
But-
regret is like a whole lot worse.
Worse than getting
like,
denied or
than
getting rejected,
denied,
yeah.
right? You know, yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people just let that fear of being rejected like
Take over, yeah.
completely take over.
But then you
know?
feel worse of letting the fear of not doing it. You know, like you feel 1,000 times worse.
Because you never
after
know
that.
what might have happened.
Yeah, that you
so.
could have
Right.
been. You know, like you could have hit him up, and maybe you guys ended up becoming close friends or something, or maybe you started being something with the female.
What about your experiences with you know, having to approach people? You know, I remember that one time we went to Ballpark Village. You approached those girls that were sitting there.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting there for a while, and I had seen them, and I was thinking, man, you know, I want to go say what's up to them, but I was nervous, and I thought about it, like, because, you know, they said there's like 7 seconds until you really start overthinking, and then you end up backing
I think
out.
it's more like 3 myself.
Right,
For me.
right, yeah.
Well, anyways, I seen them, like, I kept looking back, and I'm like, screw it, you know what? If they, I just thought I'm just gonna go say what's up to them and have them sit with us if they want to. So I walked over to them and I asked them. I was like, "Oh, I'm sitting over there." I was like, "You guys want to hang out?" And one of them was just looking at her phone, but the other one was talking to me, and they said they were waiting on somebody. And I was like, "Oh, well, if y'all want to hang out," I was like, "We're sitting right over there," and they were all impressed.
Yeah, it was a group of us, you know, and everything, because these women, I mean, we're talking just tall, like women that you would think that most people think that off the first thing that they see for a woman, they're tall, they're beautiful, that they must be some sort of high class. But it's almost the same thing as, you know, if you could be tall, good looking, handsome man and go up and talk to her and it'd be nothing, you know. Sometimes the moment a woman will open her mouth, sometimes it'll turn her from a 10 down to a 3. Same
Correct,
thing can
yeah.
happen with a man, you know. So, I mean, really, it's just kind of like, that's the thing. And that's another thing too. People get very nervous that they're going to go up to one of these girls who's very stuck up, and then, you know, at the end of the day, really, it's just kind of like another little challenge or whatever. But, you know, besides talking to other people, you know, like you said, you started off with elderly women, or some people even start off with, you know, just like, I guess they'll see a man at the stand or something, just so
just
that they
anybody.
can get. What would be another thing you would suggest, like, I guess, for trying to not necessarily start relationships, but starting to go talk to people? Like, where would you, I guess, suggest to go, or you know,
to kill that anxiety, that approach anxiety, or that, I hear this a lot too. People ask me, they say they have social anxiety. What do? I want to meet people. I said, well, the first thing you need to do is get out from behind that computer or the Xbox. When you go to the store to get gas, talk to the attendant. Wherever you are, just talk to everybody. Because the more you do, I can talk to anybody anywhere, but it's because I talk to everybody everywhere whenever I'm around. So Do you, when you go out, do you always go by yourself, or do you have what they call a wingman, or do you find it easier to approach women when you got a buddy with you, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, when I started, I went by myself.
That's brave.
Very.
Yeah, I went by myself. And as I said in the beginning, it was mostly me just walking around for hours. But I was like, yo, I'm wasting my time. I need to do something here. And I figured out, okay, well, I can talk to old ladies, you know, just put your ego aside. And without me knowing it, what I was doing was what they call exposure therapy. So
Really?
like you start with what you start with a little dose of the tension, because like going
Yeah.
up to a woman you find really attractive, that's really real
Right.
high tension situation. So you start with something with a little less tension, like an older lady or whatever, and you build it up over time. So that's how I did it. You have some people who can kind of go right in, and that's great. I wasn't one of those. I had to build it up. In regards to wingmen, I remember I used to try to get my friends to come out.
Yeah.
And that was always interesting because they would it's like they say, what is it? They say that every man thinks they can fight and they can get girls or something like that. They say. But until they get in the
Yeah,
situation. So yeah, like they were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come out and get some girls with you or whatever. And then when we go, it'd just be the whole time they just be making excuses.
Right.
Oh, she's not cute enough. Oh, the next one. Oh, I'm already talking to a girl. You know, every excuse in the book. So that was always funny to see. But yeah, no one, like all my friends, like no one lasted really. There was one friend, but he's interesting because he's actually like a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy, but he would kind of have the same thing. Like girls would be into him and they lose interest. They stay much longer because he has like green eyes and he's light skinned and all this stuff. And
Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he like looks like they used to call him who they call him, is it there's a certain rapper they used to call him, but anyway, yeah, like the girls would like, maybe if he was like doing something wrong, they just visualize probably in their head like, oh, it's that so and so rapper or whatever. But yeah, so he saw me approaching and saw that I was getting some results, and I guess in his head he's like, well, I think I could do that too, you know. And so I actually got to see him. He was one of the wingmen that kind of stuck with me, but I also got to see how, you know, there's different types of women out there, because he would attract certain type of women, and I would attract a certain type of women, and it wouldn't be the same. Like that, the women he attracted would have no attraction for me, and vice versa, right? So that was kind of interesting to see. But yeah, if you could find a wingman, that's great. If you can't, just try the exposure therapy thing. You know what I mean? But I had more success by myself, to be honest.
Really? I find it easier when I have a buddy with me. Not that I go out like that and do that anymore, but I know when I'm hanging out with a friend, if a good-looking girl walks by somebody I'm attracted, it's really easy for me to say, much easier to say something, I don't even have to think about it, than if I'm by myself. I can do it either way, but it just seems like, it's almost like it's kind of a joke between me and him when I talk. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just kind of a camaraderie there.
And to add on to that real quick, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll be like, oh, I'll find her on Snapchat, I'll find her on Instagram or something like that. Like,
I'll just wait.
Approaching, I'll
see her again.
I think it comes off as weak. A guy will see a girl somewhere, and then he doesn't talk to her, but then he gets her social information
and he'll
contacts.
text her and he'll be like,
I
I'll
saw
see
you in
you.
the
Yeah,
restaurant.
exactly.
Yeah. I think
Why didn't you come up? I've had girls tell me, why didn't you just come up to me and talk to me?
Say
and stuff
something,
like
right?
that?
I
Say
would have
something,
liked to talk to
Yeah.
That's honestly like, that is a big, like, I guess you want to say issue amongst men, like being like, what was it, demasculated, emasculated. So it's easy to just literally, you can really almost find anybody anywhere. All you have to do is, hey, who's that over there? And they'll give you the first name and you can find it. So, and most of the time, like you said, you end up messaging, and even from prior experience, you end up messaging the girls like, oh, I would have loved to talk to you. I seen you. I was looking at you. I was watching you. So I was waiting for you to come talk to me. It's like, and for most of the time, you don't think about it, but most of the girls, even strangers, they are waiting for you to come talk to them. They want to have fun. They're going out to be approached.
Yeah.
They want to have fun, so it's really just getting over that initial anxiety, and it's good to have friends or like wingmen, like he's my wingman, him and I we both bounce off of each other. So, we end up sitting there and I'll be like, wow, she's fine. go talk to her. It's like, I don't know about, maybe I'll see her around. No, go. So it's like, all right, cool. I'll end up going, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, thank God, I'm glad I went. And who knows, I may end up, talking to this girl for quite some time, or she might just be a friend of ours or something, So pretty much it's getting, I guess the problem with most people at my age especially is getting over that initial, that
anxiety,
first time trying to
the
talk to
fear.
somebody, even if it's, the cashier. Some people keep their head down the whole entire time while they're getting their groceries checked out or something, like you've taught me, and he has as well. And anybody who I've learned off of is, walk with your head up, your chest proud, just make sure that
make
people,
eye contact. That's a big thing. Make eye contact.
Don't look away until
Yeah.
they, I mean, you don't stare a hole through it. But don't be the one to look away like
but that's
this.
the thing. For the most part, it's like you're making eye contact with someone. Usually, the other person will break it before you.
Before
will.
you do,
And
Yeah.
if you're the one who breaks it, you kind of seem you're the weaker
Exactly.
one.
Yeah, so I mean, really, that's like I've noticed that a lot. A lot of men nowadays can't even make contact with another man
Yeah.
and shake their hand properly. And
We have these social buffers. I mean, all this social media, and that's not. It's easy. Well, it's like
Yeah.
we got the haters on social media. I mean, they'll say all this stuff to you, but if they met you on the street, they'd walk around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it's the same way here. It's easy for guys to try to pick up a girl on social media. I've actually talked to guys that they'll contact me and talk about this relationship, asking for my advice. And I said, have you ever met her? Well, no, but I've been talking to her for a week, and we really got something going. I
Yeah.
said, look, you don't even know her until you meet her, and then it takes time. But I mean, these guys are really emotionally invested and never even have met the girl. It's
Yeah,
just
they put a
amazing.
lot of heart into it, and they talk about everything they're doing. And even if they do meet up with the girl, what are you supposed to talk about?
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
saying everything over
Everything
text.
over text.
Like you told me, text is made for
design for
dates.
Set up a date.
Set up a date.
Otherwise,
go
you
out.
end up with a text, a phone ship. Is what.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with the social media dating or online dating? Have you done any of that, or is everything you do mostly just cold approach or in physical contact, or how do you?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I pretty much I don't have much experience with the online dating apps and stuff like that. So when guys ask me about them, I'm like, yo, don't even ask me because I had no clue. I maybe got like one girl off of Tinder one time, and that was because of the pandemic. So yeah, cold approach is my thing. So I just like when I went into the men's dating niche, I just focused on that. I'm like, yo, I'm the guy who's, if you want to go out and meet women for real, I can share my story and how you can.
And that's what you end up doing anyway. I mean, eventually,
Right.
The online, that is for me, is just to find out if you want to meet them. Get straight to the point. When I meet a girl online, it's like, give me her WhatsApp or whatever she's got, phone number, and then I want her to send a picture of me with her holding a peace sign or a
Yeah.
spoon, so I know it's her.
Right.
And then
Right.
let me talk to you. On the cam just for a couple minutes, so I can get to feel your personality. And I even went that far one time, and I drove quite a ways to meet this girl. It was up in Wisconsin. Good looking, looked exactly. As soon as she walked in the restaurant, I didn't like her. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it, but there just was no. It was like opposite of chemistry. I don't know. I spent the evening with her, and it was okay. But it just, so you really, until you meet the person, it's a good way. I mean, as opposed to when I grew up, you didn't have the opportunity. I meet girls from all over the world, and I've traveled and dated girls from different countries. You couldn't do that back when I was your guys' age. So that's great. But in the other way, it's like you really don't know the person until you meet them. So it can be a bummer if you think that you're gonna and you meet them. So it's best to have a couple, 2 or 3 lined up if you're going to.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it's especially a bummer for most guys if they're putting a lot of emotional investment into it. These guys start a relationship with a female over text, and then they meet them. If they do meet them, and then they're bummed out because she's not the same woman that she was over text.
Exactly.
Because you can have time to think about what you're going to text. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Especially nowadays.
And they're usually talking to a lot of different guys.
Yeah.
And the guy's
Uh-huh.
talking to one girl. Usually that's the way it is.
And that's the thing too. Like we were saying, you have to be the man. You have to be confident, especially like he was talking about cold approach. If you're the man, you're more likely to get the girl. But over text, you can sit there and think about something to say for 30 minutes.
Right.
You know?
You could
change your
sounding-
message.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
right. And
delete it or
and
something.
delete it and
Exactly.
resend it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Like, for example, a big thing about guys my age and just general guys, a lot of guys think that their experience with women is going to be the exact same as the next guys. And because of that, you get dudes who just destroy their confidence because, for example, like I have a decent amount of experience with Tinder and everything, you know what I'm saying? So most of the time, you get a decent amount. If you're a decent looking dude, you'll get a decent amount of like feedback and stuff from the women and stuff. But let's say that you don't have, you really are lacking the looks and everything like that, but you're really good at talking. Well, they don't know that over
your looks,
Tinder and everything, so you don't look good. And because you let's say you have game, but you just can't apply it because you're so focused on your phone that by the time that you get on there and everything, you get back on there the next morning or the night after or something, and you're checking, you ain't got no likes, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
So
It
it makes you
really
it
destroys
puts
their
you. I've
confidence,
watched
yeah.
my friends just straight get ate away at stuff like
And
that.
even you told me about dudes that suicide swipe when they just swipe and
it's
just
called suicide
Yeah.
swiping. You get it and you just swipe
Those
right.
are-
anybody.
Those are mainly for the down bad dudes.
Yeah, down bad, and like
Yeah.
they swipe, and then sometimes they won't get anything at all.
Exactly.
And that's when their confidence starts just getting shot down instead of going out there and just cold approaching or like he was telling us about or talking to a female.
I've had better experience literally going out and talking like, hey, how you doing?
Exactly.
Like, just saying what's up or something to somebody rather than trying over text, because you cannot feel or read tone over
Yeah,
text
over
message.
text, yeah.
You know,
There's a
because
lot lost there.
you could really be going up to somebody, what's up? How you doing tonight? They're not gonna read it like that. They'll be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, it's like,
they'll probably
they
read it
see
like
me
that.
like, yeah, you're insecure,
Right.
you don't want-
Exactly. So
You're unconfident or whatever happens to be.
Well, with the experience, it comes with game because, like, you and Henry, you guys have really good games. So, back behind that, you have experience.
Yeah,
Right.
a bunch of experience. Yeah,
but it's a lot of rejection before even getting
Yeah.
any sort of, not even a lot of rejection, just
Yeah.
here and there. You
Yeah.
gotta like expect to be rejected
Yeah.
more than once.
Like, no one's perfect at pulling game.
Right.
No one's perfect.
But the people who seem perfect are the people who are willing to get rejected.
They're willing to fail.
They're willing
I mean,
to fail.
the road to success is paved with failure. Well, let me ask you this, Trey. I know a lot of guys, they'll ask me, and I hear them talking a lot about, well, what am I going to say? I don't know what to say. What would you tell a guy if you said, Trey, I'm kind of afraid if I approach a girl, what am I going to say? How do I know what to say? Well, how would you help a man out on that?
Yeah. So my thing is, we do know what to say. We're
I
just-
agree. We're just afraid to say it.
Yeah, we're filtering ourselves because we want the person to like us. We're in our
Exactly.
head. I tell them, like, there's 3 things I focus on when I'm giving guys advice. Is being grounded in your masculinity. So that means being able to stay proactive when you're interacting with someone. So that means you're not reacting. You're communicating from your own frame or your own character, your own essence. You're being true to yourself.
Yeah.
You got to see yourself as a prize. You got to see yourself as perfect. Or,
10 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly imperfect. That's how you have to see yourself. Like, you're good enough right now, but obviously you should want to get better.
Right.
But
correct.
you're already good enough, and you should communicate like that. People think that they're not good enough, or this girl's so fine, so I need to figure out a perfect thing to say. And it's-
exactly. Yep.
when you try to do that, she's like, it just like repels her.
Yeah.
Because she's like, okay, like, this guy doesn't even value himself. Like,
Exactly.
Right.
it's either she gonna put you in a friend zone or reject you because you're not demonstrating that you're a man of value, that she should
Yeah.
want to be her man or anything like that.
Right.
So why would she?
Right.
And another thing too, and to add on to that, if you have good game and everything like that, and you see a really pretty girl, and the first thing that pops in your head, maybe you should go say that.
That's the
You
first
know,
That's what you need to say.
You have
Yeah.
intuition to be able to figure that out, that instinct. you
Like
know?
Claude said, you got 7 seconds until you start overthinking.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
let's say you see something about her dress. That's the first thing you want to say. Something like, well, maybe that sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that's I've heard a lot of people. What am I going to say? That's a big issue. I've heard a lot of people. But the one thing about it is you get a lot of guys too who end up going up to girls, and because they want to, they want to, I guess, satisfy or please them immediately, they give off these pick-me vibes. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever heard of that, but giving off pick-me vibes. So like, yeah, I'm
Here,
just a
let's-
different kind of guy,
I heard a groan over there in the Pauline. Let's tell us what.
What's your
you think?
explanation for a pick-me guy? Like,
I've had a couple pick me guy boyfriends before.
What's it called? I don't know.
it's
a
pick me.
pick me guy.
Pick me.
I've never heard that term.
exactly.
I'm different. Pick me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's like how we were talking about earlier. Like you don't have like a guy would walk up to me and be like, "Hey, can I have your Snapchat?" But if you don't want to, it's fine.
It's
like
fine.
I get it.
Or like let's say they're texting a girl and I'm like, well, you probably don't like me, but I think you're really cool.
Yeah.
And all, like that's a pick me
That's
guy.
happened
How
to
did
me
I
a
get so
couple
lucky?
times.
How do I get?
That's happened to me a couple times. I've been dating guys, and they're like, I would wake up, and there'd just be like this long, like 2 essay paragraph sitting there, and basically the majority of it is usually like, oh, I can't believe like you're my whole world, and like I don't know
Just
what I
them
would do.
devaluing
And how
It's
does that
like-
how does that make you feel? When,
I just don't like it. It just makes me really uncomfortable.
Smothered, you said last time we
Yeah,
were
it's
talking
like
about
it's like
it.
I'm suffocated in a relationship that I really. Even people that I'm not even dating will text me and be like, "Hey, you're really beautiful," and I get if you don't want to give me the chance because I'm not like it's like they're trying to.
this is what not to do.
It's like they try to. I like the person I'm talking to now. He has his goals set. I'm not his like first priority. He has his goals set, which is what I like. Every other person I've dated, they'd always have like me in
As
front
their
of
first,
everything.
yeah.
They'd be like, okay, I'll quit playing like basketball or football for you. Like I'll just stop. I'll do.
I'll come hang out with you. I'll miss this practice.
It's like it's fine. Like it's whatever. If I don't get playing time, it's like you're gonna get out of shape, and I'm just gonna feel very unattracted towards you.
right.
Because I mean,
yeah.
not trying to say I go for looks all the time, but that's usually what I go for because, like, it's like bonus points for me. Like if a guy's good looking, it's like bonus points.
And
But,
it's just
like,
really basic instinct, you know.
Yeah.
But then if it's like I'm dating somebody and then since they're with me, they start kind of getting out of shape because they feel like
Comfortable.
yeah, so they start getting a little bit more comfortable. It's like, so I've dated people. I like the way they were when we first started dating, but then when they got comfortable into the relationship, I started to feel suffocated and uncomfortable, and I kind of like figured out who they were truly because like usually within like the first month of dating somebody, you don't really ever know like when it comes down to a girl because like it's just a little bit more complicated, but like pick me guys are just not it.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing about it
Yeah.
is nowadays a lot of guys will enter like relationships or just talk to women with a front. You know, they'll be front and just completely on who they are, what they do, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, the girl gets a whole different taste of what the dude is like. You know, maybe dude is not like, I don't know, just not as protective as he seemed at first, or doesn't have, you know, and it's not
confidence,
necessarily the money, but like, you know, if he's got money, that means he's focused on his job, going to work and everything. So the first thing they'll do, like they'll show off all his money, and then like 2 or 3 months later, they're dating or something. Dude then got $1 in his
And
pocket
that's the
or
thing
something.
too, is it's like a guy, let's say he's working on himself, and a female can pick up on that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's truly doing something
yeah.
with himself, and then he'll start putting all his focus into her. That's when they start like leaving them on red, or living them delivered, and then that's when guys start messing up. Like, oh, why you didn't text me yet? You know?
Right, right.
Paulina, you had something else you wanted to
Yes,
share?
oh my
Didn't
God.
forget, did you?
I'm trying to think. Hold on.
Looked like it might have been good.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I've been with a couple of guys who, when I would be like on FaceTime with them, I'd like ask them questions like, "Oh, what would you do if like a guy walked up to me and like catcalled me or like smacked my butt or something?" And he'd be like, "I'd stand up for you, blah blah." But then like there'd be a couple of times where like one of his friends would come up to me and flirt with me, and he would just stand there and then he'd start crying. Because he was like, "You're finna leave me for him? Like, he's so much hotter than me." And I was like, "I mean, you're right about that, but it's not like you need to go cry about it, because then that just kind of makes me feel like I like a guy who's confident. I don't like
Right.
Like-
well, it's like what Trey was talking about.
yeah,
That's
I don't want a guy that's gonna sit there and be like, "I'm so ugly. Like, I hate myself. Like, I'm not
Devaluing
built,
himself
I'm
for
not
you.
built like somebody else." And I'm just like, just
Those are the type of dudes that say that I'm not good enough for you, or some shit like
Right,
that.
Yeah, so like I agree with Henry's, like this was farther back, but the whole eye contact thing. So, you know, me and my brother we were on Main Street. He was going to go do something, and you know, he went in the store, and this girl was in this car in the back seat, and you know, she just looked at me, and I just, you know, made eye contact the whole time, and she starts driving away, and I keep looking, but then she breaks the eye contact. So, you know, I looked away, and then I glanced over a little bit, and I could tell that she turned her head all the way back to see if I was still looking at her. And then there was another time, you know, me and Carl were at Walmart yesterday, and there was this one girl when we were going to go check out, And, I made eye contact with her, and she broke it, so I looked away and started talking.
Well, when it comes to that too, is it's like for girls making eye contact with you, that's a good time to approach
That
her.
is, yeah.
Because
Right.
she obviously sees
She's
something where she
focused
likes.
and-
Be an
Yeah.
indicator of interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Trey, do you help people like people that are already in a relationship, like what Paulina's talk about, and they're with the girl maybe 3 months, and then she starts like, well, I'm busy tonight, and kind of pushing him away, and he comes to you maybe, and gee, Trey, I don't know what's going on here. It was going really good, and all of a sudden now she's not answering the phone. She doesn't return my text right away. Do you help people like that, or is that something you do?
Yeah, I get those questions. I'm trying to think of something recent. Yeah, one of the things I notice is when a guy gets in a relationship with a girl and he hears certain things, like she says, like, oh, I love you, or stuff like that. When you hear that, and even me, I will admit it, like when you hear stuff like that, you just start thinking like, okay, I can do no wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Complacent.
Yeah. So what happens is, there starts to be a shift where you start off the relationship probably very masculine, more than likely,
Right.
and you were very probably had a couple girls you were talking to, stuff like that.
Options.
Yeah, and then when you get in a relationship, you start to drop that energy,
Exactly.
drop that vibe, and the girl can sense it, and the attraction starts to dissipate, and so the mistake I see is like, a guy will start getting too interested, so texting her too much, calling her too much, you know what I mean, and just his energy is going all in her direction.
Right.
And I think it's like it's too much for her, so she'll start, the vibe will start to shift. She won't text as much, or she'll give one word answers or weird excuses that don't make sense, stuff like that. So the advice is I always tell them, pull back, start putting your energy into your purpose, or maybe start talking to other women or whatever. But too much energy is going in her direction.
Yeah.
So it needs to be spread around somehow.
Well, that mainly takes you off your priorities whenever you show too much interest in a woman.
Exactly.
And my dad
they
said-
don't like that because they were attracted to you
Yeah.
for who you were, and now you're changing. Everybody's
Right.
focused on
Yeah.
that.
Right. And like you said in one of the recent podcasts, if you're dating a woman, you've got to constantly be, trying to win your woman over, or dating her. You have to constantly be dating her. You gotta, like you said, I've noticed that a lot. That happens a lot of guys I know are doing really good in work and are just financially just at this point that where like, you wouldn't expect a 20-some-year-old to be at that point. But they're doing so good and like, I think I'm gonna find myself a girlfriend or something now. And they go and find themselves a girlfriend, and they're together for quite some time. And I know one of my buddies, he's a good looking guy. He's got himself, his goals and everything is set straight. But he's still dating this one girl who was supposed to just really only kind of be like a one-time kind of thing. Now they're dating and they're together with each other, and he's fine and everything, but she just hates his friends, and she just hates when he goes out with his friends, and he's pretty good at not letting her control everything, like much of that he does. So that's why she still has so much interest in him.
Yeah, he has to keep doing those things because he has to be the same man she met.
And that's literally why she's still. It's been 4 or 5 years
Yeah, I know
now,
what
and
you're
they're
talking
still
about, yeah.
together. They're still together because he. Even though it has made her mad a couple times, where we're getting to the point where like she'll slam the door and lock the room door and won't
or
come
she'll
out
be
for
like,
the-
"You're such a
You're dumb.
asshole,"
Yeah,
or
you're
something.
such an idiot.
But
You're
the thing is, at the same time too, then she'll post him on his story like, "I love this man to death."
Yeah, every single week. Everybody even makes fun of her because of it. She's like, this man right here is my life, because she is just so like
and he's so focused on his goals and everything he needs to do
in
and
life
having
and
fun, but
having
without
fun.
her.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's where the game comes into play. Because like you can have one of those bitches.
Exactly.
Or, excuse my language, but you can have one of those females.
Right.
But if you have game, you
Yeah,
can
you know how to
control them.
control
You
it.
can
Yeah,
understand
you can
how
understand.
they played the role.
Right, and that's the thing too. A lot of most people don't think. I would say it's not necessarily like a 50-50 when it comes to how you're doing the relationship. You obviously always got to put in a little bit more work. Now your girlfriend has to obviously, you want her to stay in shape. You know what I'm saying? Take care of stuff around the house if you guys live with each other or whatnot. But you have to constantly be becoming a better man, you know what I'm saying? So that, I guess from my experience, it continuously keeps her falling in love. You do, for example, what I did from a prior experience, I got real comfortable, she's sitting there. I'm like, I'm
Happened to me before.
I'm
Same
kind of
too.
overweight, and I'm sitting there, I'm kind of looking at myself, and I'm like, man, I don't look that good. And, oh no, you're fine. She's
Yeah.
like, I still love you so much. I'm like, okay. She said she loves me still.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
they're fat.
Yeah, and then
get you to stay home.
Yep, and I'm
go.
right, and I'd missed out on work a lot. We'd be laying in bed. It's like, oh, I don't have work today. Just come on, just stay in bed with me. And to me, that sounds like a good idea. Laying in bed. That's what I would want. If I was to ask that. But then you end up doing it, and then you didn't go to work, and she sees how easily she can get you to do something.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, it gets you straight away from your goals. And what you need to do,
Right.
yeah.
So that's really one of the things too. I had another question for you. Is pretty much like, along with focusing on your goals, you have to focus on your goals, and fall back and everything. But when you first enter a relationship, or I guess are trying to start a relationship, would you say that the best thing to do is just be your genuine self, as genuine as you potentially could be?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you put on a front and she likes that front, then you're gonna have to keep that up
Keep
for
that
the whole
front up,
relationship.
right,
That's gonna be
right.
very difficult. So that's why I focused on becoming the best version of myself, so I can just be myself, and myself is great.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah, so you wanna that's the key thing. Like that whole be yourself thing, that's BS. Be your best self.
Right,
Truly,
right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, because instead of putting on a front that you got to keep up, and eventually they see what you are, and your
Right,
true colors or whatever.
Yeah.
They will,
Yeah.
they will over time.
They even pick up,
Yeah.
even if you can keep it away from them, they'll pick up on it.
They'll pick up on it. Yeah.
Trey, what's your thoughts on marriage? What do you think about marriage here in the U.S. or marriage in general?
In general, yeah.
I'm a firm believer in marriage. I've been married 4 times. It just never worked out.
yeah, my view is I have zero interest.
I understand
marriage.
that.
Zero.
Bachelor life right there.
However, if a man is getting married from a place of abundance, so he's not settling, it's his
Right.
decision. He's had fun, he's did his thing, and he's found a woman, and he's like, yo, she's worth it to
Right.
me. Go ahead. It's just when the guys settle, that's when they
settle,
cool.
yeah.
It's not cool.
Exactly. Yep.
That's what most marriages are now. Like I would honestly say every marriage that ended in a divorce was someone settling. So like what, 70% or something like that. Now that is high. And like another thing too, we're going back to like a little bit, taking a few steps back to the social media. Now you see everybody's always constantly every time you see a good looking female on there, you go to the comments, there's always going to be some dogs on
simps,
there,
100
dogs on there.
likes.
Right, sitting there drooling and everything. What would you suggest, for approaching a woman who, gets like 1,600 likes every picture and has got like 25,000 followers and something like that? Because I've approached a couple girls like that, and I've gotten, I had my fair share of
You
rejection.
mean
and stuff,
approaching
but-
through social media?
well, necessarily, yeah. So let's say you're at a party where there's influencers. There's people there who have got a decent amount of clout or following and stuff. Most people would think that, I guess those people are better than them or anything. What would you say to the people who think that these celebrities or these influencers are better than them? What would you suggest to them if they were wanting to approach one of these people?
My advice would be, let's use the context of a party. I like that. When you go in a party, you can go in as nobody and end the party and be like, everybody wants to know you.
Right.
If you go in and you focus on just bringing good vibes, so not even thinking about making somebody like you or getting a girl, picking up girls, any of that. You just go in and you're like, yo, I'm gonna have a good time tonight. I'm gonna help others have a good time. I'm gonna share good vibes.
Right.
And also understand that rejection is a part of it.
Yeah.
Like you can go with the best vibes in the world. Some people are not gonna be with it, and
Right.
you have to be okay. Like I remember the first time I saw this in person, like because when I would go out and cold approach, I started with doing it in the daytime, so like going to the malls, the grocery store, stuff like that. After a while, I shifted. I started doing what they call night games, so going to the clubs or bars. And first, I would go with the intention of picking up girls,
Right.
And they can smell that, like the needy energy. Oh, he's trying to fool me tonight. That kind of
He's
thing.
just trying to get some, yeah.
But then one of my boys who's more of a natural, they call them naturals, like the guys who naturally learned how to be good with women. They didn't need to read or figure anything out. The cool thing about him is even though he was a natural, he still wanted to learn. Like,
Right,
what am
right.
I doing here? Like,
Kind
why
of
is this
home it
working?
in. Yeah, right.
So I saw him the first time going to club, and that's when I saw the difference between going and trying to pick up girls and going and having a good time. He just went in there, and right away, as soon as he went in, he was dancing. He was going up to girls and guys. Like usually the guys are always like, "Yo, which girl?" and you know, hunting them down. He'll go up to guys, you know, a group of guys or whatever, and just dance. And I would see people reject him, and I didn't see any change in his frame. Like, he was still happy. He was still having a good time.
Yeah, right.
And he would carry that energy throughout the whole night. And towards the end, like he pulled one of the finest girls in the club. And I was like, okay, that's how you should do it.
Right, for sure. It's just constantly, like you said, you know, really for the most part, you know, people can tell when you're just kind of trying to be like, you know, just you're not being your best self, like you said. You're not being your best self. You're just trying to do something for attention or just for. Not really for you're not doing it for yourself, you know. You're not doing it
to like you or something,
right? For your best cause, you know. So yeah, that's
Braden. You're a current jock. What's your experience of being a jock as far as women approaching you? You're a hell of a good football player, I've been told, quite popular. Tell us about your experience.
Well, to be for real, I don't really know how to answer this because this is so on the spot. But well, personally, I used to just walk up to women and be kind of like walk next to them whenever they're in their friendship like group. Yeah, and I would just hang around with them and be kind of too afraid to ask them for their snap because I'd be afraid of getting rejected by her in front of all of her friends and then get remembered for that.
Right.
But then like nowadays, like ever since I started hanging out with Henry, Claude, and Mark, I've been more open about myself. More confident, and I've been pulling a lot of more. Females.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too, is it's like you notice how whenever you started having, I guess you would say a main girl, a lot of girls started talking to you.
Yeah, like, I've noticed that a lot. Because
and that's what girls do. It's like at the same time too, you can't base your confidence off having females, but you get a sort of assertiveness, I guess you would say, when you have one girl.
Yeah.
And girls like that. You seem more dominant, more, and you're in demand as well.
Yeah, and it's hard for them to get you.
Yeah, a man with options is attractive.
It's mainly because I was actually starting to settle down and start simping for her, but then I started talking to Henry and and you, so that got me out of that state of mind. So that's what really motivated me.
Everybody simps sometimes.
I've done the same thing. Yeah.
That's how you learn it doesn't work.
Yeah. And with like all this, really one of the things is I was just sitting here kind of collecting all the thoughts and everything. And I'm kind of sitting here thinking, before all this, I just recently got out of a relationship, which, there was a lot of, stuff going on in it. And I was, getting out of it was probably literally the best thing that I could have done for myself. And that's another thing that people have a problem with. They don't want to leave the girl they're with because, what if I don't find a girl as pretty as her?
They're so comfortable.
But there's literally so many. It's fear, unreal.
Yeah.
But, I'm sitting here thinking and kind of collecting the thoughts about how, people do have a lot of fear when it comes to not being able to find what they think is the one. They think that they have to find the one instead of, just having a good time and, going out and
figuring yourself out,
experiencing different people and stuff. And, along with that too is people don't realize that before you can do all that and, before you can go and be with all the females that you want with and talk to the people that you want with, there is a lot of inner work that you have to do on yourself. You have to, like you said, make sure you love yourself, make sure that you respect yourself, make sure that you know you're a high value and you're a prize. You're the best. You're the best looking person, even if you're not in the room. You're the prize. You are.
Yeah, you got to believe you're a 10. If you don't, nobody else is going to.
Right. So that comes with let's say maybe you put in a little more hours. Buy yourself a new wardrobe. You go work out. You find a better hobby or something.
Start taking care of yourself.
And that's the one thing behind all of this that people don't realize because you go into the game broken, you're gonna leave even worse. You're gonna leave shattered. You know what I'm saying?
Yourself or not
right, because you, like you said before, you could be good looking on the outside, but on the inside you go to talk to a girl and she notices that it's a coward on the inside, so along with trying to get all this before you focus on, like a lot of people have a problem with, which I made this mistake too, but before focusing on the women and before focusing on that aspect is you focus on yourself, make sure that you are good, make sure that you love yourself, because in the past people say, don't expect someone to love and respect you if you can't do it for yourself.
Another thing to add on to that too is like people start working on themselves and they start seeing results right away and they get drawn away from
right.
that.
Yep, exactly.
People start hanging out with them more. They get a lot of females.
They get drawn into the effect.
Yeah.
And they forget where the cause
exactly.
is within them.
And and then they kind of get like back to where they were.
Yeah.
They go back to square one, and
Exactly.
sometimes even lower than square
Yeah.
one. You know, they hit
They feel
rock
worse,
bottom.
yeah.
They've hit rock bottom. Like, whoa, I put in all this work, you know, and this isn't that. Now look where I'm at. You know, so I mean, really, for the most part, like. What would be something you suggest if someone was to start to work on themselves? What would be something you suggest? Maybe be working out, running, you know, playing guitar. What would be something that you suggest that would
Benefit them, yeah.
benefit, like kind of be a universal benefit to everybody?
Well, usually I ask them like, what is your passion? You know, what do you love to do? Even go back to childhood. You know, what did you like to do as a kid that maybe you stopped doing or for whatever reason? I start there, you know, because I think personally, like me going back to my childhood, that helped me. That's part of the transition that needs to be made. Like maybe as a kid, there was something that you loved to do and you just stopped doing it and you lost touch with that part of yourself. Right. So you may have to go back there and bring that back out. And maybe another, you know, a big thing that has come up a lot is also past trauma. So essentially, I think part of falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your life is falling in love with everything. Even the stuff that's happened in the past that was negative, figure out how to reframe that into a positive. That's
it's
a
really
big thing.
how you perceive your past, and you can change your perception any time. Sometimes we look back on all the terrible things. I used to look back and thought, my mom and dad never told me they loved me, and they never hugged me, and but I changed, and I look back now and I think about all the things they did do for me, and they love me, but they just didn't show it in that way. So it's really a perception, because for years I looked at it like that. Not that they were bad, but I just thought, why didn't they ever tell me that?
Yeah,
But
another
then-
thing too is it's like, how did this help you become the person you are
today? Right.
What did it do for you to make you become this person?
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
to
I
get
wouldn't
the
be
way you
here
be?
today with you 6 kids and
Yeah.
doing this right now if it wasn't for my parents being the way they are, because they taught me a good work ethic. They both worked hard for years, the same company, and I was always a little stubborn and bullheaded, so I don't quit when things don't. And that's something too, Trey, persistence. I know a lot of guys, maybe they'll go out and cold approach 1 or 2 girls and they get turned down and like, well, it doesn't work,
Yeah.
see? So I think that's something else that I can see what you had was persistence. And now where you live in Orlando, around here it's pretty slim pickings.
Yeah, I was telling him about
But
it.
how is it in Orlando? Is there quite a few places you can go around there where there's a lot of good-looking women? Now in St. Louis, there's quite a few, but out here it's pretty slim. So how is it down there? Where do you go to? You talked earlier about.
Yeah, I started with the malls. So like, there's beautiful women in the malls. You're gonna have tourists there. You're gonna have localers. I would go to the grocery store. There's women in the grocery store. There.
Yeah.
Right.
The department store. We got Walmart and Target over there. Yeah, they're everywhere, man. Like it's just, you know, I remember. I don't know if they still have this joke, but like, guys will always say, "Where the girls at?" And then when the girls show up, they don't do anything.
And they're on the phone looking at the weather app.
It's like looking for a job, but then you're hoping you don't find it.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're everywhere, man.
Yeah, that's the thing a lot of guys do today. Is it's like they don't have the confidence for it, but when they're with their buddies, they'll be like, "Where the girls at?" And the
Right.
girls pull up, and they're sitting there on the phone like,
Well, right, and that's the thing that him and I have always ran across. We're always the ones who are asked, "Hey, where the girls at?" It's like, okay, we can get the girls over here, but it's not our responsibility for y'all to pull them. And that's the big thing. We'll bring around a bunch of girls and stuff, or just a couple, just for some of our buddies to maybe
they don't
screw
know
around
how-
with
they
or
don't know
something.
how to act.
And they don't know how to act. They don't even know how to even bag them. And we brought them over. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have it easy right now. All you have to do is have some good game, little couple words, and you might even get it. But
dudes just shy away from that. They're scared of it.
right,
You know,
they'd
they're
rather
afraid of
sit
the
back.
rejection, yeah.
I've seen guys who just have swore up and down, and I've seen some of the girls that they've messed with, and occasionally like that right there to me was luck because they had no game, But I'll bring some of these girls over who I wouldn't even really necessarily say that like they'll maybe be like a 8, a 7 or 8 or something, and they just fold under that pressure, immediately as soon as it comes to like, hey, go talk to her right now. You see them shaking, they start sweating. They're like, what do I say? What do you want me to say? Nah, bro, no, So they'll make up an excuse or something.
I'm too drunk. Or
I'm too drunk. Or
I
something.
smoke too much. I'm too high. or
Something. They'll just always say something to try to, make, like anybody else. If you don't want to do something, you'll make an excuse for
Let's
it. or
ask
something.
Paulina. Paulina, do you get approached more a cold approach? A person comes right up to you, or is it more on social media, or is it equal? Or
It's more on social media. I don't think I've ever had a guy come up to me
Really?
and approach me. I mean, I've been with my friend and she's been approached, but that was a really long time ago, and it was because like I don't really know how to explain it, but basically me and her were standing at the fair like 2 years ago, and I was like staring at this guy and he was staring at me back, and I was like, oh, and then he started walking over towards like me and my friend, and I was like, oh crap, like maybe he's about to ask me for my snap, and then he didn't ask me and he asked my friend. So I was kind of just like, but I mean I kind of really didn't care because like I think that was the first time that
A dude came up.
a dude ever came
Your
up,
friends,
and like
yeah.
I don't know how to explain. The times that people come up to me are usually at school, but that's kind of just because it's at school,
Right.
and you kind of just have to socialize with people because there's a whole make new friends at school thing. So it's kind of like you can't walk by someone without either looking at them or saying hi to them because you kind of get in trouble for that.
Right.
now.
What, is that like a rule now?
It's a rule.
Yeah, they want you to-
You have to
right.
make new friends. Like they'll put you in a pod where you don't even know anyone you know.
Right.
And like there's nobody at that table that you know, and then you have to talk to
Well, I
them.
understand why they do that too, especially with how much social anxiety,
Anxiety there is,
nowadays.
right.
Because
You know, people aren't going.
at school have their phones in their faces. They're walking around. I usually have my headphones in, and I'll walk, and I know guys look at me, but I kind of like pretend like they're not looking at me. Like I like pretending like they're not looking
Well,
at me.
another thing guys will do too is they'll look at you and they'll hope that you come
No
up to them
hope,
first.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
up to
maybe-
the man to approach.
Yeah.
Girls give indicators of interest, and the man they make themselves available for you, and you got to have the balls to walk.
Yeah.
up.
Pretty much, yeah.
I
pretty
remember
much.
I used to hang out with some of my friends sometimes, and there'd be like two cute boys sitting somewhere, or like a couple cute guys, and my friends would like push me, and be like, "Go walk up to them, go walk up to them."
They
I'm
should
like,
be the one
I'm
doing
not,
it too, yeah.
I'm
Right.
not doing that.
Another
Like,
thing too I've noticed is with Frank's generation, Pauline's generation, they'll hang out with the girls, and the whole time they're hanging out with them, they'll be on their phones. But they were talking all this stuff over text, telling them, "Oh, when we hang out, you know, I'm gonna kiss you," about this and that.
Right.
When they hang out, they're sitting on separate couches, they're on their phone the whole time.
Yeah, another thing too that I've noticed, like you said, you don't get approached much. That's the thing nowadays. You could approach damn near any girl now and woo them because no one
Nobody
approaches
does it,
them.
yeah.
No one does it. Just the action of you automatically approaching them sometimes has even gotten me in the foot, like my foot in the
Yeah, it
door.
shows
farther.
boldness.
Right. So they know that it's like it shows strength. You know, like you said, that they're not afraid of getting rejected. You know, like who is she to say no to me? You know, so pretty much like. That's how I've noticed is like a lot of girls get approached nowadays and stuff, but not as much as you would think.
Yeah.
And well, cold approach, I should say, because on
Yeah.
social media, they're like, you know, their
Yeah.
phones are always. Every single girl that I've hung out with or been with this past like 2 to 3 months, their phones are always constantly blowing up. They're always somebody on the line. So you know, you just kind of got to realize that there's all those guys there and everything, but you know, I'm saying like you got to sit there and think about. Oh, I'm the best.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm the best. You know, I know I'm the
you gotta
best.
you genuinely have to have that attitude when you're talking to
Right,
them, too.
right,
You can't
right.
just think that and then just have this kind of front like we were talking about earlier. You have to be that guy.
Right,
You have
right,
to be
and
that man.
like you know, so like even little things says, and you know, it's like, oh, I promise I'm the best guy you're talking to on your phone. Oh, I'm just playing with you. You know, you can't.
Yeah,
you-
that's what people
I promise
do,
you,
yeah.
I'm the best guy you're talking to on your phone, and leave it at that. You know, so that's kind of like
another
a thing.
thing,
like,
another thing too is like when people are texting them, they'll say something like that and they'll be like laugh hella hard or
Laugh-
LOL.
right.
But that indicates that you're not 100% sure about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm joking,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying that. You know.
LOLs, LMAOs, laughing hella hard. All those have always been used kind of as like it's like I'm just playing.
I'm just without saying it.
It's unless you are cool with, you know what I'm saying? I've definitely found myself doing that. That's why
I've done the same
noticed.
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Paulina, you have something you want to?
I was gonna say I've been in public places before, and I'll see like a guy there that I'll have that I used to have a crush on or something, and I'll look at him and he'll be standing there, and then I look away and I'm like, I hope he walks up to me, and I'll wait the whole entire time, and I don't get walked up to, and then he'll text me and be like, yo, I saw you, like I was gonna walk up to you, but I didn't know if I should have, and I was like, okay, and then I completely lose interest in them
Exactly.
because then it's kind of like what people say now is like you don't have the balls to do it, like you're not
Right,
ballsy enough, which is obviously these guys call each other shy guys, okay? They're like, it's another form of a pick-me guy. It's like, oh, I'm shy, and they do this, ugly finger thing, and they send this like ugly emoji, like that
the
sad,
shiny
the shiny
emoji,
sad eyes,
the puppy
and-
dog eyes.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, and then they'll say sorry that I didn't walk up to you, but they'll say sorry, like the R's will be W's,
God.
and it's like, and
a
it's
baby.
like, it's like, all right, like I don't want to.
See, I don't know anything about this because it's out of my.
That's kind of how it is now. It's like the girls are like, whenever he's like really mean to people, but he has a soft spot for you.
Right.
It's like, no, because then it's like he acts differently when he's around his friends, but then when you guys are alone, he's a whole different person.
Another thing too.
That's what I don't like.
Is dudes will call their girls mommy.
Oh my God! I knew you were gonna bring that up.
They call it okay. They'll be like, because a lot of dudes have like either, I don't know if it's a mommy fetish or mommy
It's like
issues.
just like
you
a
know.
lack of mother.
Yeah, so they'll be like, I've seen videos of this girl will catch her boyfriend lacking, taking a video of him. He's like, I love you, yeah, I love you, mommy. I just want to hug you. It's like, I've never called my girlfriend.
And
mommy.
then he catches a recording. He gets up and says, "Hey, delete that!
Yeah.
Delete that! Don't
I don't want my homeboy to see that, but like,
I think this like displays a lack of masculinity, like what Trey is trying to help people with, because a lot of young men now are raised up in single
Mother household.
single households with the mother there and the father's gone, and they don't have there's nobody to show them. They have no example, and I think a lot of young men think that if they act like a woman, or they can relate to a woman and then
they're
the
more
woman's going to
feminine,
be more feminine, or I don't know if they constantly think that, but
they just do something.
What's your thoughts on that, Trey? Why we have this issue that they're
These
speaking
feminine
about?
men, yeah.
I think part of it, like even in hip hop culture, I don't know why, but you got guys that are like wearing dresses and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't understand that. But like, yeah, like if the people you look up to, you're listening to their music, stuff like that, they're doing feminine
Right,
stuff,
right.
then you're gonna think
Yeah,
that
you pick
works.
up on that, yeah.
I remember my boys like what they did to get girls was try to be pretty. So I tried to do that at one point. I was trying to be a pretty boy.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, that's not like, and I don't know. I guess it works for some guys. It does. Like, and it's interesting, but it doesn't work for most guys.
Do you think they attract a more masculine woman, a woman that's more masculine when they're like that? Because the polarity there, maybe that works.
Yeah, that's what it is actually. I did notice that, like even the dude I was talking about, my boy, like the light skinned pretty boy.
Right.
Yeah, the girls he attracts tend to be more masculine.
Right.
It shifted over time because he got so much practice and he started to learn, okay, I need to be more masculine. But in the
Right.
beginning, like I remember he got with this one girl, and like she was just like leading the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Like she
Right.
was the one that was, telling her we're gonna do this, and she would let everything slide. But at some point it flipped. Like at some point he told me this, and he's real cool for telling me this. Like one time she legit was just like, one day she looked him in the eye and was like, I need a man, not a boy. Ooh. Just straight up.
It gets to that point, yeah.
Right.
Man.
So he and I'm pretty sure like he felt that one, and that's probably when things started to shift. But yeah, they like I guess some girls they'll tap into their masculine side, like if they really like a guy, but at some point they want him they want you to shift, and
Yeah.
if you don't, then I don't know.
That's when you hear
Right.
something like that. Like
I
you
don't
was
think
just
they
telling
feel
us, yeah.
safe with a man like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Like the main thing, one of the main things that a woman wants is, somebody does something, they want a man who's gonna push you behind their back
Yeah.
and put their hand out front, for whatever danger it might be coming at you.
It's like what Paulina talked about. The guy, she wants to know that a guy can take up for her, but then when somebody was flirting with you, they're friends, and they started
Right.
crying.
They start crying. Like,
I mean, that's definitely feminine energy there, I think. So, Trey, what would be the one thing that if you could tell our listeners, the guys out there that are struggling, the one thing you could tell them that would lead them in the right direction or help them the most?
One thing.
I know there's a lot of things, but if you could zero down just one thing that
The one that popped up, I just like to go with what popped up right
Right.
away. You gotta fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
Like
I agree 100%.
The reason I will say it, because I know that they're probably not expecting me to say that, but it's the truth. You have to fall in love with yourself, and
Right.
like it doesn't have to be like a corny thing. Like you just really admire yourself. You really respect yourself. What that means is you just start going for what you want. If you want a certain type of girl, go for that type of girl. And if you're not getting her, work on yourself. You have some talents. You have things that can make you
Right.
more attractive. Just work on those things and level them up. And don't blame, stop blaming girls for like stuff like, oh, it's her fault, or she this or that girl, and the terms they use, right? Like, Because if you make it about her, then she has all the power.
Right.
Now you're a victim, and what do you now? You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you got to take responsibility. And say, what can I do? And that's what I did, right? If I would have just went with how things were, I would have settled. I would have been the shy dude that doesn't know how to express himself, and I would have found myself in some weird situation. I would have been miserable. But instead, I said, "Yo, what can I do?" And I found out about code approach, and I just went with that. Not everyone needs to go that route.
Right.
But that's what I went with. I just started going out approaching women.
Whatever works for you, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different kind of circumstance or
Different experience and
Yeah.
everything. So
Now, where could our listeners find you if they wanted to get in touch with you? What?
I'm very active on Facebook.
That's
So-
where I met you.
Yeah. So just search Trey Morgan. I got a Facebook group called The Masculine Throne. It's a free Facebook group. You can search that. You'll find it. I'm on TikTok, Icetreygame all together. Have a YouTube channel, Icetreygame as well.
And we'll put that in a link when we're finished.
for sure.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere. But mainly Facebook is where I'm the most active.
Right. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you tonight. I think we're going to wrap it up, and I know I made the right choice having you come here, and I appreciate you accepting my invitation. And we're going to take off here. Thank you guys for joining me, and I couldn't do this without my kids, and I certainly couldn't have had this show tonight without Trey here. So we will see you guys next weekend. We have another guest coming in 2 weeks from now from Utah.
Oh, okay.
He is Drew the Human.